Hey there, it's Chris, and welcome back to the Kai Schulen Project, where today we can finally have a little bit more of an exciting session going on, because we're going to make some big changes on this. First off, in the interim between the last segment and this segment, I did go and finally touch up the hands and fingers. They're a little more finished off. I do think the hands are a little big. First ones I did were a little small, so we didn't quite find the right size, but I think it works for this figure. That said, I think the arms are a little bigger than the whatever my inspiration image, the one on the side. I'm not used to camera being that way. One on the side there, but I think we're fine overall. It fits the size of the model. But as for today, I just kind of took the clay that I kind of had left over. I kind of rolled it into a ball real quick, kind of just squeezed the bottom just real quick, and you can see in what took 2 seconds at the end of last time, we have now already completely transformed the way this model is going to look just by doing a 5-second issue of that. So yes, we are going to be doing the face. And if you watched the Bang, if you haven't seen the Bang Shishigami one, we're going to retread a couple basic themes on that, just to kind of set you aside on how this is going to work. But I have done faces in one of two different, or I've done it in two different ways. When I first started out, let's say we have a ball, you take your ball of clay, you just kind of, you roll it up, you make that. You can go take that ball, kind of squeeze it a little bit. Let's say we have a little chin going there. We squeeze it down in. You can take one of these guys, whoop, kind of hollow out for an eye, hollow out for an eye. This is really hard, doing kind of blind to me, but kind of so you can see it. You can have like a little bit of a nose kind of going there. You can take that and kind of make your mouth, and bim bam boom, you can kind of start approximating with that and with a whole piece to represent the entire head. And that's kind of how I originally did these types of, originally did the faces and heads when I first started modeling. Since then, there is method number 2, which I'll get into pitfalls on that once I turn this camera around. But method number 2 is we can take that same piece of clay, we instead just cut the front of it off, so all we have is the front. And now from here, we can trim down what we want for the side. We can trim down a little bit on the side. That gives us a little more of an exacting look that we're going for. I don't know where I put my tools, so we're going to use this. And then from there, this is really hard to do and I can't see anything, and you guys kind of have all the visual. But we can bring that down, bring up the nose, and we can kind of just make, rather than the whole thing, we can do just the face like that, and then harden this and build the head behind it. And that's actually going to be the method I'm going to be using for Kai over here. Now give me 1 second, let me get some of this stuff moved out, and we're going to turn some things around. And we will do a little bit of explaining time, a little show off and explaining time, because we have bonus characters we got to show. So in order to drive some of these points home, I have my 3 ladies over here. We have Realm on the one side, we have Nameless Sitting Woman in the middle, and we have Saria on the other side. So just to go over the basics of that now, this one I have to be very careful. Saria was, I do believe I have shown off Lamisa as my very first one earlier on. Saria was my second model, so she is actually very delicate and doesn't like to be moved around very much. But we can take the head off, and this was done in the original method. But you can see it does work. You can, if you just kind of go on, you can make this work if you work it well enough. The cheekbones kind of worked out. It does round off the edges. The trick on here is going to be getting the eyes in the middle of the head rather than up top, because what can happen with this method, or one of the things I've noticed can happen very easily with this method, get back on here. It's okay to take heads off. It's October now. We're in that season. It's fine. Hold up. I lost an arm. This was taken off of a YouTube thumbnail image that I just kind of blown up and started going. But this was also done kind of the same method. I never finished this model. I just kind of I got to the head and got really frustrated. Because what can happen very easily with that is it's very easy to kind of just rotate things over. As you're kind of getting this down, you can rotate things over, and you can see there's no forehead on her. The eyes kind of got moved up, and it just, the facial details are there, but the head shape is wrong. It needs more forehead up top, and things kind of, as you kind of manipulate around, you're holding around here, doing anything, it runs into issues of keeping your proportions in the right place on these. So it's not a bad method, but it does have some downsides of you need to really make sure you need to put your guidelines on here and stick to those guidelines like crazy when you do it, or else you wind up with something like that where there's no forehead, and you get to that point where something doesn't feel right. And then we come along to, I'm going to say quasi-recent. This one's still actually over a year old, but we have Realm over here, and Realm was done with the second method. Realm was done with the kind of the mask method. You take that, and this was one of the earlier ones done in this fashion, and it's very nice because you can give yourself, you can just put this on like a block of wood, and you can get a nice background. You can cut the chin exactly to how you want it to be. You can shape out the face exactly how you want it to be. Everything is kind of a little more in your control in that regard. If you want to go, you can break out like some of the, like your compass or calipers, kind of go from a reference to this very easily, this method, and that part works well. The only downside with that is you need to be careful to kind of round off the face in this direction, because it can come across as very flat if you go up front. It's harder to see on her because she has all the hair and all the craziness going on in the head. But one of the downsides is you just need to make sure when you do that you actually round off the head a little bit, or else it can read flat in the end. But it does allow for much greater control of your work environment when we do it that way. So for me, that's going to be the method we're going to be using to do our Kai over here. So give me 1 second. I'm not going to move these guys completely out of the way. I'm just going to slide them over just so I have a little bit of space, because I need a place to kind of slide Kai back to, because we're not going to be using Kai today. In fact, none of this model matters at all today. We don't need any of it, because the face itself is going to be 100% separate. Now, 1 second, I forgot to give myself a little workspace, a little work area here. Not quite what I was looking for, but it'll do the job. All right, let's see. Leave you out of the way so you can go all the way back. Okay. So we're a little sparsely spaced, but you know what? You fit right there. You two can hang out. You can chill. You're buddies. You're friends. It's all good. Okay. So, rather than have you... that can stay. I have a bunch of clay down here. So what I did was I went and tried to find any kind of image where Kai is actually looking at me. And although it's been super helpful using, maybe not that one. Yeah, let's go with this. It's been super helpful kind of using these images. It's kind of a 3/4 view, meaning you're not looking straight on. You're not looking side. It's kind of sideways, like a 45-degree angle kind of look. So it's not the easiest thing to get a sizing off of, say, that type of image. The front one here is actually not too bad, but I have now finished the game, so I was able to go back through some of the images and whatnot I have on there. And as we can see, that's not a bad image of Kai. You can see what's going on hers is, say, unlike if you're looking at my face, unlike if you're looking at, say, the Realm one over there, Realm has a very kind of baby face look going on. It's a wide angle, very soft on the bottom, wide cheekbones, kind of shallow. So it's a very kind of roundish baby face kind of look. If we look at Kai, Kai is the exact opposite. Kai just down, down. It's boom, boom. And that's what we have going for us. Or is it? So come back to another view, and you can see this is a lot more of a baby face kind of look. It's a lot softer coming down, a lot softer coming up. It's the exact same model they used. But as you can see, the difference between this image and this one, if you're looking for this type of image for your own model to do, is this image, you can see your eye level is down around shoulder height. So you're looking up at it, so you have a little bit of an underview of the chin. And with the shading that goes on in this game, it softens the whole look out. If we come back to here, we're now looking almost directly into her eyes in this one, so it's a much more straight view, and you can see it's a lot more of that kind of angular look. If we come back to here, again, she keeps the angular look. So at the end of all this, I think I'm going to use this image on the side to kind of go off of for this, but you can see it's definitely a more angular look than most of the other models I've done kind of in recent times. So we're going to use, actually it's not that far, it looks like off of how my Saria came out, to be honest. But alright, we're still gonna start with something like this. I'm gonna come down here and I'm just gonna smash it on in here. And bam, there we go. Now, as is usual, and also before I even start this, if you want more reference material on these faces, go and rewatch the Bang Shishigami face episode. I used two different models of mine to kind of highlight the same point on that one. I believe it was Kat from Gravity Rush and Rydia from Final Fantasy IV, I think. And they also use the old school versus kind of new school methods that I used on these. So if you want additional reference material, I do have it up on here. You just need to go to that project, and you can get that. But that said, I did some numberments, and the overall height of her head, as when comparing it to the body here, winds up being about 1 1/8 inches. So let's go and do that. So that gives us, hello, that's not supposed to come out. Let's tighten that. Tighten that. You can do it. Maybe you can't do it. Is this thing broken? No, it's not broken. It just must have been at the very far edge of what's allowable to be. Yeah, it's on the very far edge of what's allowed. Okay, well, wasn't expecting that. But okay, so that's where we're starting, and we are 13 minutes in. Okay, let's get going. So we know that's the size of our head, approximately. The nice thing is, if we don't get the forehead the exact height up, we can still add that when we get to the hair and the hat. And actually, your hat's going to cover the whole top of the head anyway, so I'm not super concerned with that on this particular model. But it would still be nice to get it right. Okay, so with that, I believe we are around, it was either at or just under 7/8 of an inch wide in the end. So we can take this, drop it down. So that now gives us, that's now our rectangular block, which the clay I had left over actually winds up being surprisingly close to what we need on her. So that's, you know, I think I can bring her a little closer. You can go down there. Okay, and then the other super important number to have is where are the eyes? And eyes are actually generally easy to figure out. If you ever want to know where the center of your eyes are, if you go from bottom of the chin to top of the forehead, it's the middle. So this is a strong half, and there we go. Now, strong half is a terminology I use at work all the time. Essentially, that means 1/16 of an inch. So we say something is like a 1/2 inch, something's a 1/4 inch, something's an 1/8 inch, or something's a strong or weak eighth. which would be a 16th higher, 16th lower. So that's a me terminology. So if this is a strong half, this is actually 9/16 up. Winds up being where the eyes are. So why am I missing the one tool I use all the time? So that's gonna be our eyes on this. And now, also if you want to have a lot of fun, watch the Bang one, because Bang had a face. Bang had a very face going on. And it was quite interesting to look at that for the amount of time we had to look at that one throughout the project. It eventually worked out once the hair kind of went in there, but Bang definitely had a face going. Okay, and now with that, that's our general shield-like face-looking outlook. So we have a chin, which is coming down. Now we do want the chin comes back up a little bit, so we can take a little off of that. Let's put the excess clay on this side, because I'm just used to having it on that side. And we're going to soften things up just a little bit. Now, I don't know how long this is going to take to do this. This could be really fast. This could be really slow. I'm not sure. But I did want to have that spiel at the start, just to at least get that in. Plus, I haven't actually really shown off a lot of my other projects at all this project. Kind of the ones I showed in the very first episode were the ones I had to bring back again to highlight the other areas with the Link, Tolly, and... I don't think I brought Bang back for anything after that. At least Link and Tolly made it back. But, okay. Oh, you are the thing I want. Now, her eyes, I'm not going to sink in. Or rather, I sank Bang's in quite a bit before, but I then re-added a very big brow on top. And I'm not going to need to add that big a brow on top for hers. She's going to wind up with, again, much softer. She has a very tight knit kind of chin going on, but the features themselves are much softer than Bang's was. So I may add just a little bit to the brow just to kind of get it there, but all in all, the nose is going to be smaller, kind of mouth is smaller. The eyes are a little more, they're definitely more anime-ish eyes going on, but the features aren't going to be as in your face as this goes. And I'm really hoping this works out on the first try here, because I never feel like I'm great at faces, and then they kind of just work somehow in the end now. So I do have a little bit of that kind of going on, just an expectation that this could be a little bit of a work in progress. I'm just going to add a little bit of a brow on here. Again, we're not going huge this time. We don't need caveman look like the last one. And so I might as well, while I'm in this and just kind of doing busy work, I'm figuring this is probably about another like 10-ish hours left in the project. My guess is it's going to be the one session for the face. It's going to be the one session to do, I was going to say the head and neck, but there's really not much to the neck, so I might do the head next time. I might add something else to that, or it might just be a really short session, but figure face and head are 2 hours. I'm going to say this camouflage stuff, I'm just going to say around 3 hours for that, just to kind of be safe, because I'm not 100% sure how that's going to work, so up to 5 hours there. Let's say 6, 7, 8, 3 hours to do those things. Then hair and hats, probably another like 2 hours to do that-ish. So my expectation for this is we're getting close to the end. We're now in that like roughly 10 hours left, and we are done. So in the next like 2.5, like 3 weeks, depending how many sessions I do now per week, now that I have more free time, because hey, the game is done, we will be getting the painting actually pretty soon. So I will throw out for a few, if you have a preference on what you want to see color-wise, you can throw it in the comments section. She has 2 color schemes. She has, as you can see in this one, and if we take off, we have that color scheme going on there, which is kind of the autumn brown kind of look. And if you don't want that, we have the winter color scheme you can go from. So if you have a hard preference, if you want to see one of these, I haven't decided which color scheme I want to go for. So I may need to go and pick up some paints or something to do it. But if you, anytime between now and when I get to that point, if you have a hard preference on what you want to see with colors, let me know in the comments. Because, yeah, haven't figured that out. It's the exact same model. Thankfully, she's the only character in the game who uses the exact same model for both. It's just a different color. And okay, so we have this kind of working out. Let's round that up a little bit. I think I'm going to need to add some to the cheeks. Okay, now adding to the cheeks is always fun because there's a very fine line between building up a cheek and making it look like she's been has like a chipmunk mouth full of, well, stuff. So it takes very little plus or minus on this to make this part kind of work. Everything really on the face is just so little amount of stuff has to be done to change the dynamic of everything. And realistically, I should be doing this after I put a mouth on here so you can kind of have a little more to go off of. And as much as I like this, it would be good to use... Actually, give me one sec. I need... As nice as it is going off of the image you're using, let me go off the one I have in my own stuff here, because I would like to get the mouth right, and I realized I could use these things as good reference material to get the angles and all that right. However, it would be nice to use you to kind of see what we're dealing with. So the nose, yeah, nose comes down a little lower, that's fine. And you have a little bit of kind of a smirk going. Something like that. Okay. Now everything looks kind of wrong, but at least the parts are in place. Now, she doesn't really have any kind of lips that are going here. Again, the graphic style here is very kind of simplistic. They want to go kind of a watercolor kind of look. So nothing ever really gets super detailed in any of these images. I might as well put... So you can even see on the really up close ones, it's just a very clean kind of look. Again, it's a very clean kind of look going on. So our goal is to kind of keep this, yeah, kind of very clean-ish looking. But I also need to have that kind of feminine look to it. It definitely has that feminine look, not masculine. So trying to keep a chin that comes down so hard and strong like that while maintaining kind of that feminine look is going to be the trick. So I don't want to have the chin protruding outwards. I think that's going to give it too much of a... So I just want to soften that up a little. I'm just kind of softening these. We have softened up the brow, so that's good. And really anything up above kind of this, anything really up above that area is not even going to matter anyway, because you're going to have the hat up above that. So we are never going to see that part. And I'm still haven't, the hat really will be attached to the hair, because I think I can plug some of the hair pieces or some kind of wire into the hat area to support some of the hair. So the hat will be part of the hair. It will never be able to be really taken off of this face, except for kind of painting purposes. I will have it removable for painting purposes, but generally speaking, that will always be on here. So really the top of this head, really once we get above the eyes, isn't really going to be super important to get anything done on that. Okay, kind of bringing the nose in a little. I just want to have a little bit of this kind of coming. And that's why I'm more centered on the camera sometimes. I just want to get a little bit of that off. because when she has the profile view, there's definitely kind of that swoosh for the nose, which I didn't actually put on these images. Probably should have. Probably should have, but... Okay, so I'm feeling not too bad about the nose. Mouth, although, yes, there's no actual kind of lips or anything on any of the images, so to speak. This just feels really awkward not having anything on here. So I'm going to go and add just a little something. And if it doesn't work, I can always take it back off. But I want to see if we can add just a little something to this. Helps if I put the lip kind of where it should be. Well, right now that's not helping. Actually, it does help a little bit. It does add a little bit of something to it. Let's continue to soften. Always want to be softening this. We need to smooth everything out as we go. We do want to have that little bit of a smirk on the side. Alright, so I'm gonna try adding a little bit, because again, if you have a smirk, that's your muscle is going to be pulling it up a little bit. So there theoretically is muscle up there. So what I'm going to see is if I can add a little bit of something. I'll probably wind up again taking this right back off. But just to get a little bit of something going on here. There, you can kind of go, you can see it kind of pulls up just a little bit. So far, it's not going too badly. I don't know if it's... I'm not going to know if this is really kind of her or feel like her until we get to kind of the hair phase. But we're getting something going. Now we do need eyes. Eyes. So for the eyes, I wouldn't mind not using that image. You're going to be a little better for getting the eyes on this. And let me move my own image over on the side. Oh, I can move you a little more. Actually, is it worth turning you guys off to get you? Because we're going to have the eye. How does this compare to... I have my own image I'm looking at on the side here. So I'm going to be going off of this one. I just want to see... Okay, so the eyes are a little wider on the image you're looking at than the one I'm looking at. It's just I didn't zoom in on the correct version, so I feel like it's a little awkward if I use that. Now, I know I keep using my 3 basic tools here for most of the stuff that we do. But for this particular, for stuff like the face, I do start breaking out additional things. So we now have this guy I like using just kind of get this right. And I need to make sure she has a little more anime-ish eye going. It's not, this isn't like 90s anime going on, thank goodness. But it is, again, it's going to be bigger than Bang's in proportion to the rest. Although it's not looking super huge. Okay, so we do the other one kind of the same. And that comes down there, up, and our goal is to get them to kind of look the same-ish. Let's see, you want to be a little flatter on the bottom and then kind of come up. I think you want to be just a little further out. And then from there, I do want to take, some of this out. And once I get this done, there's going to be one more little demonstration. There is a difference between how we do this if we're going to paint this versus not paint this. Now this model is going to be painted, so that's going to actually simplify things just a little bit. But most of the time, you don't really need to have that much of a difference between painting versus not. The biggest difference between painting versus non-painting is everything is kind of detachable. Like I said, we can take the arms off, we can take the body apart, we can do stuff like that so we can get to certain areas. We can take the knee pads off, which they haven't been come off in a long time now. But when it comes to actually structuring some of these things, like individual elements here, there's actually remarkably very little that changes between painted versus not, but the eyes and the face do have one kind of sizable change between them. In that, if we bring back the Saria one here, if you look inside, you can see there's a little indent in here. Oop, there should be, if I can get the shadow out of the way. You can see there is a little indent I had put in the eye, and that is to give you a focal point so your eye can see a pupil in here. So you can see she's kind of looking off to the side, so I have a little pupil on the side. There's a little pupil there. You just kind of go, you can get a little piece just kind of boop in and boop in. And that's if you don't paint this, that gives you the focal point. It creates a shadow in that, it looks like a pupil, and it makes the eye work. Now, being as we are painting it, I'm not going to be putting that pupil point. So in the short term, we're not going to have a focal point to look at on, get in here. We're not going to have that same focal point to look at on Kai's face here. However, once we get to the final stage of things, it will work out in the end. Because then we will draw in the pupils, we will draw in the eye stuff that we need. I feel like I cut some of this stuff and it didn't want to come out. Hey, it came out. Okay, once again, we're using another special tool, the little round ball on the end. I can use this for these small areas just to kind of botch one side as compared to the other. Okay, so we do want, again, these two sides to kind of look marginally similar. Might be good. Being symmetrical is both a blessing and a curse. It means we have to take an extra 2 hours to do the second leg and make it look just like the first. We can take an extra 2 hours to do the second arm and make it look just like the first. And now we need to take some more time to make this second eye and make it look just like the first. Okay, those are very, very inset eyes. We're going to be not having it that inset. So let's go and bring that down into the cheek on the bottom side. Round off the end here. Actually, I just want to round off this whole face in general. Let's see, I know I added a brow to you, but I don't want that much brow. Or if we do have that much, it doesn't occur that quickly. But overall, I think I just cut in the eye a little too much. We have lost kind of that anime-ish look. Oh, there we go. There we go. We're getting it back. It's okay for the brow to come out that far in the end. We just don't need it to come out that far instantly at the top of the eye. Whew, okay, we have quite a bit of fixing to do. We were starting to get kind of okay, and then I started doing things. Let that be a lesson. Never do things. Only bad stuff happens. Okay, now it's starting to get a little softer again. A little more off of this nose. Nope, nope, nope. When I do that, I wanted you to come out. And I feel like I need to start these eyes kind of from scratch again. I think everything I did has now just disappeared. Like I said, faces, arms are definitely not a strong suit for me. Faces are a little rough. Like I said, I enjoy doing more of kind of the detail-y, kind of the fabric stuff, kind of making props and whatnot. I think that's more of my happy place. Some of these, I do enjoy actually doing these faces, but I'm still not the greatest at doing these. So there's a little bit of that kind of going on in here. But we are still learning on things, and that's kind of what counts. Let's see, we need to kind of establish. Oh, just doing that helps. Just doing that helps so much. Alright, round you off. This is turning into a very kind of masculine face. I'm not super happy with that, but alright, I feel like we have some weird stuff happening up here, which is not helping. Kind of have a little V thing kind of going on, so I just want to fill some of this back in again. Okay, let's get you in. Okay, smoother we get everything, the easier it's going to be to paint. Because again, as you get into smaller and smaller scale, the individual bristles will like to go to wherever there's like a hard line or a stopping area, something like that, and they'll kind of rest on those. So we don't want to have any extraneous marks on here, but we do want to have as much stuff on here as possible to help guide the paintbrush for when we do need it to get into something specific. Okay. I feel like maybe some of this is there's a chin kind of going on here. I just want to soften you up a little bit. Something is going on, and it definitely has a masculine-ish look. I think maybe the chin is coming down. I think the mouth, is a little too far up. And I need to bring that down. Ah, too many tools now. I need to bring the mouth down just a little bit. You know, I could have just erased the mouth and just redid it again rather than do this, but it winds up kind of being the same thing going on, so. All right, perfect. Harden it. We're there. Let's go back to you again. Okay, I'm liking the proportion a little more. Mouth being down just that little bit is a better proportion. It's not shaped correctly, but there is a little bit of breathing room between that and the nose. I just need to do it more correct. Now again, we also saw with the Bang one, this will look 100%, this will look 100% wrong until you kind of get all the hair and all that type of stuff going on here. It's not going to really look right until we get considerably further in and get all the other details, get like the back of the head, get the ears, get the hat, get the hair, get all that stuff. That will make this look much better. So that's part of the trick of dealing with just a face, is we don't have all the things that are really going to make it the character we want until then. Okay, that's actually a little better. That's giving me a little bit more of what I want. We can see we have the muscle pulling the mouth in the right directions. We do have that going. We are back to a little bit of a smirk. We're not showing teeth. She doesn't want to show teeth in here. It's more of just that kind of sly little smile thing going on. I'm seeing you're a little bit rough, right on the edge there. Yeah, we are wrapped around, which is nice. It's not just a flat surface. We do have some 3D effects going. I keep rounding off this edge, so we do have the 3D effect going on that we want. Even if we're pinched in a little there, when we wrap the head on this, those types of things will disappear. So there is some playroom we can do on that part. She really does come down pretty much to a point on at the end of all this. Let's give her a little bit more baby face. Not too much, but I do want this to come down to that point. And not hang down. It's going to give that kind of turkey neck kind of look. We don't need that. Yeah, turkey neck is the exact opposite, because the one thing everyone keeps saying about the game is she's like more powerful for her size, that she's basically as powerful as like anybody else out there, only she's like half the size of everyone else, because she's like this super kind of petite, skinny person, which again, I kind of messed up by making the arms slightly bigger. But that means she's toned everywhere, so there should be no loose hanging anything. So we can't have that little kind of, yeah, no, we need tight features are what we're going for. Okay, now we have a little bit more of that. Now, whoop. We're getting there. I don't think the eyes... It's not that the eyes aren't matching that, it's more the eyes aren't matching each other. Oh, that helped. That helped. I got the size right. Now I just need to iron you out a little bit. Oh, this is always a process. We love the process of this. Where's the tool I want? You know those days like when I was kind of going to blog mode kind of thing, just talking about other stuff throughout like any kind of session, because I was just kind of doing turn your brain off kind of things. Well, pretty much for the rest of this modeling, basically for finishing off the head and hair, doing for these detail parts, doing the camo stuff, there's going to be probably very little actual kind of blog mode-y stuff. Most of this is going to be directed exactly towards the model I'm doing. Because all of this is just now detail, detail, detail kind of thing. Okay, so we're kind of getting there. Are there any other real features that stick out? I do think I'm very rounded on the end. It has a little more oomph on the end. It does come out just a little bit straighter. It doesn't round. It's not a rounded end part. It's kind of more direct. I do like the other side of this. Okay, that's actually starting to look a little better. Just need to fix this side a little. But I'm feeling better about that. Now, after this session is done, again, I might do a couple little touch-ups here or there, but by and large, we're going to be hardening this, and then the next step is going to be done after this is hardened. So this will be set in stone pretty much as soon as this session is over. But again, when I'm dealing with details kind of this small, I would like to do some kind of touch-up and whatnot off camera where I can use my nearsightedness to my advantage. But we will get this into predominantly where I want it to be, and then next time we are going to be golden. But I am kind of feeling that now. We can see every time I look at it with my own eyes, it's looking halfway decent. I come back up here and it's like, not sure. Something is a little different between the two eye sockets, and it's trying to figure out what it is. Okay, so from here, let's see if we can add a little detail. So it looks like we have a little eyelash or eyeliner or whatever it is kind of comes up to the point at the end. A little bit of the same. Whoop, 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 whoop. Don't lose it. Don't lose it. That's bad. Nobody wants that. Yeah, now this could just be straight up painted on, but I can give it. But I also have the ability to give it a little bit of a 3D effect, and it gives me something again for the brush. If I have the chance, it gives something for the brush to kind of go up to, which could make things a little bit easier in that regard. Be good. Come off in my fingers. Okay, so it goes up and it comes down just a teeny bit back on the side here. Now again, if you're looking at that, you're looking for the black line, which should be on this one. You can see the black, whoop, the black above the eye kind of comes up over the eye, then comes back down just that little bit. That's all I'm really adding on this. It's just that little something. All right, can we blend you into this? That would be super cool. All right, a little bit on this side. Get over there. Don't need that. Again, just a teeny bit. And get off. Yes, okay, good. Good, good. Didn't need all of it to come off, but did need some. It would be nice if those two can blend. So it kind of comes in together and then goes out. Let's try to just soften the eye socket a little bit. Once again, I have really deep set eyes. Probably because I just actually set them deeper because I added that piece on. So what I could do about that is I can add more to the inside here for the eye itself. Piece, get where I want you to go. That's actually not so bad. Alright, just need to get another little tiny piece to do the other side. That's like half of that. Yeah, we need this little thing you can almost see. Add that to it. Bam. Okay. Alright, so that gets her in there. That kind of helps, I think, a little bit. The eyes are no longer as set back now that I added that other piece. Just kind of flattening out the corner, because again, let's get the corner to look right. I feel like I lost a little bit of a smirk somehow. And we just need to soften things back up again. We got a whole lot of kind of little ridges and all that going on, so just need to re-soften some things, and I think that's going to be where we're going to end this session. I think we're pretty much, I think we're getting kind of there. That said, she does have, let's see, if I turn these off, can we see? No, we really can't see the eyelashes up top, or not eyelid, the whatever, the brows up top, but we can on that image. Now this is probably going to wind up 100% under the hat. go. Let's see, we're a little wider on the inside. Perfect. Okay, so you kind of start up here. And yours get very thin and trail off very quickly, so you don't really have much with that. We'll see. If this feels really weird, then we don't need to include it. The smirk is not working when I have this. I need this to kind of just... read a little bit friendlier. I don't know. I think I'm gonna play with this just a little bit more off camera to see what I can do to make this feel right. Somehow the smirk stuff is not quite feeling 100% on this, or maybe I'm just not 100% sold on it. But I think we're close to what I want. But I think it's at this point now we're just gonna be pushing around clay this way, that way, and the other until I get it to kind of feel right. So I think this is not a bad place to end this. So we can bring you back up. I mean, that's effectively where we're going to be ending, down here, or up here, or over here. So we're going to have the head coming on, got that nice little smirk going. That's where we're going to be. So, but you know what? If we're going to have an ending piece, we got these ladies out here. Might as well highlight them. That's what they're here for. So, but again, they're here. It's good to use these every now and again, just kind of get the lessons learned kind of dealy going on. And oh, that's why it's heavier. You're sitting on a weight. We get those lessons learned, and that's the important part. But yeah, no, this is where we are. As I said, we're going to play a little bit more off camera. I'm going to get this smirk to work out right. Next time we're going to have this thing hardened, and we're going to build the head on here, the head, neck, and if that goes ridiculously fast, or head, neck, and ears, and if that goes ridiculously fast, then I'll just start on something else after that. We will see. But until then, and until next time, enjoy.